Okay, everybody, I'm sorry if you just woke up in whatever time zone you're in right now, but it's time for us to cheer, bring the passion, bring the fire, because today we're talking about the Kabu-Kabu no Mi, the cheer fruit, the pump fruit. Let's hear it! Cheer for the mighty Belo Betty! Let us bellow for Betty! Go Betty! Woo! Betty! You're awesome, Betty! Go Betty White! Betty White was a national treasure, and she will be forever missed. Golden Girls for life, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you for all of the great video recommendations. I've been doing live streams recently, but this is the first video one that actually came up on the wheel. So, thanks to, Polar Andom Channel. Okay, thank you for the video idea. Just video idea. Betty White. Not Betty White. Bella. I could do a Betty White video if you really want me to. I could do that. She was amazing. But just video idea. Belo Betty. I threw it up on the wheel. At the end of this video, we're going to spin the wheel again, and we're going to see what it could be. Might be another video. Might be a live stream. Might be a tier list. Might be a tier list video live stream. I don't know. Anywho, today we're talking about Revolutionary Commander of the Eastern Seas, Belo Betty, and her ability, the cheer fruit. Okay, so very unique power in that it's one of those devil fruits that doesn't really seem to affect her at all. I mean, I guess necessarily it could. We've only seen her really use the power once at Lulusia, and nobody remembers Lulusia. It's just this weird part of the story. Ooh, what if Lulusia is going to be part of the new Void Century? Like, let's say Luffy were to lose, and all of the good guys lost, and like Eam was the one that reigns supreme at the end of the One Piece story. This would probably be Void Century 2. But anyway, yeah. So at Lulusia, before everything happened with the Mother Flame and everything, we had the Peachbeard pirates attacking the town. And it's okay because the Revolutionary Army commanders were on their way to Kamabaka, so they just kind of stopped by on their way there. All four of them were there: Karasu, Morley, Lindbergh, and Belo Betty. And they all did their part to kind of like bring the revolution to defeat the Peachbeard pirates. However, it was Belo Betty's ability that was probably the most integral for their ultimate defeat of the pirates, and also the idea that probably the government doesn't like her the most because of her power that literally empowers the people, okay? Her design is essentially based off of the painting Liberty Enlightening Her People, okay? So this is an example of Oda looking at an old painting, an old French painting during the French Revolution, and just being like, yeah, anime waifu, I'm gonna go do that, all right? And so that's how Belo Betty came into existence, which also explains kind of, because if you look at that painting of Liberty Enlightening the People, like her, her boobs are kind of out, so Belo Betty's design is like there, a lot of double-sided tape or armament hockey or both went into her outfit, basically. Anyway, her power is just to stand there and shout and just encouraging things to the people around her. Now, this has a few effects. Number one, it does boost your confidence quite a bit, but that's not the only thing. It's not like a placebo effect or something like that. Like, hello, it's time for you to rise up and defend your homeland, pick up the clubs and pitchforks and attack the pirates, drive them off. And it's like, just roll a freaking persuasion check or something and just like, yeah, she's right, let's do this. It does more than that. It also actually does give you like a strength boost, because there was one dude that was like hearing Belo Betty's speech, and he was like beaten down by the pirates, and he got up and he started like his muscles, his biceps started to swell, like, oh my god, I've been really hitting the gym apparently, let's do this, okay? So you could maybe look at it like not just from a mental perspective, but a physiological one, the idea that it's like maybe like an adrenaline shot. So maybe it does give you a temporary energy boost, like magical powers like with devil fruits, or it may just, you know, get your endorphins going, get the adrenaline pumping, and just like unleash your muscles to their maximum extent and then go and then beat down, and it might be a like a temporary effect there, okay? But yeah, I'm sure the government doesn't care for Betty's power, because Betty could walk into an oppressed nation that is under the thumb of the world government in the Tenryubito, and the people are so beaten down like they're slaves and they just have no will to fight anymore, and with one sentence from Betty could be enough to not only get them to rise up, but it could also give them some energy. Like maybe they're like, you know, emaciated, you know, the government hasn't been feeding them a lot, or some like work camp or something like that. Betty bursts in with the revolution and just like, it's time for the revolution! And everybody's like, huh, what's that? It's like some old dude that's like lugging a rock around like, huh, I can bear it. I feel it. I feel the power of my youth. And he gets up, and then they rise up and overthrow like the whole work camp or something, and they take the island over, and the revolutionaries are like, we've done our job on this day, okay? So yeah, Morley's power to push the earth around and move under it and invade Marijois, that's pretty powerful. Karasu's ability of the ash fruit, or like the what was it, ash, or was it like charcoal or something like that? That's his Logia that allows him to just turn into birds. That's really powerful. Lindbergh doesn't need a devil fruit because he's a steampunk cat mink, but like Betty's power is specifically catered for the revolution, okay? Like this is the perfect person to get this fruit. It is also effectively an opposite fruit, which we don't see a lot of these very often in the story. We get some devil fruits that are upgraded forms of others, like the upgraded form of the Magu Magu, the upgraded form of the Mera Mera is the Magu Magu, or the upgraded form of the Supa Supa no Mi, the Dice fruit, is the Buki Buki no Mi, which is the Arms fruit. We see those every now and then, but opposite fruits, not usually. Or if we do, they're typically Logias, because like, for example, Ace's Mera Mera is fire. I guess you could argue Aokiji's is ice or cold. Although actually, I think a more opposite reaction to Aokiji's Hia Hia no Mi would probably be Oven's Netsu Netsu, which is a paramecia, because Oven is a high heat human, and then Aokiji is a cold human, a chilly human, all right? So we see opposites every now and then, but in the case with Belo Betty, it's the Kabu-Kabu no Mi, the Cheer Cheer fruit, as an opposite to Perona's Horo Horo no Mi, which allows people to basically become depressed, okay? Although you would argue, actually, the Kabu-Kabu no Mi might be stronger. Well, stronger in some respects, because Perona's only ability is not just the ability to make people depressed and, like, lower than a sea anemone, all right? Because she has other things she can do with her ghost powers. She could, astral project, and she can make the mini hollows that blow up and everything like that. So in that regard, I guess that fruit is stronger. It is actually a very devastating power. But when it comes to Belo Betty, she doesn't actually have to use, like, any conduit. Like, Perona has to send her ghost out. The ghost has to physically pass through you to turn you hollow. In the case with Belo Betty, it's just her voice. And I'm sure there's other things she can do. She typically goes into battle carrying a giant flag. So I imagine it's all sort of like the image that she's cutting for herself, okay? It's a very impassioned, powerful speech. And the waving of this big, giant red flag that says, oh, wait, no. She's literally waving a death flag. I hope she doesn't die. The Eastern Army commanders of the Revolutionary Army do not have a great track record of survival. Just because of the fact that Ginny used to be the former one, and she's dead now too. So I hope she's like not waving a literal death flag, but still cutting an impressive image, waving the flag of revolution with this giant dragon on it, and everybody knows what that means. Every civilian in the One Piece world knows the symbol of the revolution, this dragon symbol headed up by Dragon himself, right? So they see that, and they're just like, yeah, this is empowering, right? I'm sure there's other things she could do to warrant confidence. I don't know, maybe she could go over to somebody and, like, give them a very firm handshake and be like, you can do this, I believe in you. Yes, I can! Her power's not just useful in combat either. I mean, you could use her power to be really good at a job interview. If you have a job interview coming up, or if you're nervous about something, you just go to Betty, and then she'll give you the confidence that you need in order to carry out your task. Like that. There it is. Like, oh man, I'm gonna ask my fiance or my girlfriend to marry me. I just don't know what to do. And just like, don't worry, Betty's got this. She's like, you got this. You can do it. Believe in you. And like, okay, I'll do this. And like, you run off. Right there it is. Okay. So, does she have an ability for herself? Like, I feel like, considering we've only seen it one time, I think that she does. Okay, even with most other devil fruits, like even like another example is the jacket fruit, which just turns you into a jacket. Somebody else has to put you on to actually get the power, okay? Which, by the way, I wonder if there's an equal and opposite power to the jacket fruit. What would that be? The power of pants? The pants fruit? Maybe nudity? I don't know what it is, but like, let's hope to God the jacket fruit does not have an opposite because it's already so strong, right? So there's like fruits like that, but then again, even with the jacket fruit, everyone makes fun of it, me included, but there might have been some other attributes to it we never saw because it only showed up like one time, kind of the same thing with Belo Betty's. So maybe if she gives herself a pep talk, because that's something I think everybody's done at some point, you know? There's a moment in your life where you gotta like psych yourself up to get to do something, you know, and it could be something as simple as just like getting out of bed in the morning or whatever, but something to like motivate you, to get you moving, and it's just like, okay, I can do this, I got this, yeah, you can do this, man, I believe in you, make your dreams come true. I'm the one giving the pep talk to you guys at this point. Barry believes in you guys. Whatever else in this world, just know Barry the Brick has your back. Barry the Brick believes in you. You can do this. Whatever you need to do. It's like I'm trying to hypnotize you at this point, but like whatever you are trying to do in your life, Barry is totally 100% behind you. There it is. There it is. Just people there like, you know what, Tekking? You know what, Barry? I can do this. Yeah. All right, great. I could fly. All right, maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know if you could do that. I mean, if you want to go, I want to go to pilot school to learn how to fly. All right. You can do that. You can do that. There's probably at least one person in the audience that was actually thinking about going to flight school. Like, it's like, oh man, I don't know if I want to go to flight school and be a pilot. It's a lot of work. I don't know if I'm cut out for it. No, you are. Go and do it. It's like, okay, I'll do it. It's like, all right. So, I think maybe if she's, you know, stuck up against a wall or something, and obviously she knows how to fight. It's not like her only move is like going into town and waving a flag. I'm sure she knows some martial arts and things like that. Every commander of the Revolutionary Army has a vice commander, so we could talk about hers for a bit. Her vice commander is Ahiru, which just means duck. It's like the domesticated duck, and she's actually a cyborg. Like, we see her actually having a death cannon. She's about like when Sabo's ship is returning with the Lelucia survivors. She has this like arm that like has like an energy beam cannon. I guess Lindbergh might have made it for her, and she's like, I will eliminate the target. He's like Aegis from Persona 3, and just like, no, it's probably Sabo. Don't shoot it with your energy cannon, okay? So yeah, Belo Betty's pretty awesome, and her vice commander has an energy cannon arm. So we don't really know anything else about Ahiru. I mean, we'll probably learn about her more. I feel like the revolution is going to coincide a lot with the Gods Knights stuff. A lot of people are always curious of, like, when are the Gods Knights going to show up? Like, people thought the Gods Knights were going to show up at Egghead instead of the Gorosei or something. I feel like maybe Oda was like, oh, wait, yeah, the revolution, that's going to happen. I need people for the revolutionaries to fight. You know, if the admirals are going to be taken care of by, like, the Straw Hats and maybe, like, Kid and Law and the Grand Fleet and the Supernovas and stuff like that, the strongest leveled Marines, the Gorosei ultimately are going to be dealt with, and, you know, the Blackbeard pirates are obviously a counter for the Straw Hat pirates, right? And, like, we also have Shanks there and everything like that. I'm going to need more villains for the revolution to fight. So I think that's where the Gods Knights are really going to come into play here. In fact, you know, in a question of, like, where are the Gods Knights? Like, why aren't they leaving Marijois to do anything? Or even at Reverie, they didn't really do much. What if the Gods Knights are on, like, orders right now? Because they know Dragon's Revolution is really getting to the breaking point. Like, they know Dragon's Revolution is a threat now. It's not just a ragtag group of freedom fighters like it was 20-something years ago. It is an actual army that has liberated several dozen islands all over the world, Four Blues and the Grand Line, and it's coming for the Tenryubito. Like, Dragon's Revolution is not stopping. They're not just going to give up at this point. So what if the Gods Knights are basically like, we're not leaving Marijois because eventually the revolutionaries are going to come to us. You know, the whole point of this is to overthrow the Tenryubito. So the Gods Knights are like, no, we're staying in the God City. Kind of curious about where they were when the Reverie was going on, because it was Fujitora and Aramaki that'd fight them back, so whatever, don't worry about that right now. They were out to lunch while that was happening. They were having their brunch. But anyway, eventually the revolution's going to happen. They're going to go to but eventually, you know, the revolution's going to happen, and Dragon has to ascend the Red Line, and they have to go and defeat the Tenryubito. Like, that has to happen at some point. So Belo Betty, Morley, Karasu, Lindbergh, and all of the vice commanders, and then Dragon himself, and then Hack, and then Koala, and Ivankov, and Inazuma, and everybody, Sabo, they're going to have to fight against somebody, and it would make the most sense to have an organized group of Gods Knights to fight them. So I think that's where we're going with that, okay? Still have some time left in the video, so might as well talk about Ginny, I guess. This is a rather somber moment. But anyway, Ginny, who was the love interest for Kuma, and they were slaves and they escaped, and they could have had a happy life together. I mean, they did have a happy life together. They lived together for many years and were very content with their situation and everything. But that all changed when the Sorbet Kingdom was taken over by their evil ruler and everything, and then Kuma fought back, and eventually the revolution saved them, and they all kind of joined them for a little while. And you know what? I'm imagining that Kuma probably might have been a revolutionary commander for one of the Blues as well, because Ginny became the Eastern Seas commander, probably Kuma, because Ivankov ran line commander. Dragon is the ultimate commander. Sabo wasn't around yet. I don't even think Sabo was born yet while this was happening. So in that regard, I would probably say Kuma maybe the northern commander, western commander, like opposite sides of the planet or something like that from Ginny. Maybe that's how it went down. But anyway, yeah, so Ginny was a commander for the East for a long time. We didn't really see Belo Betty. I like to think that Belo Betty was her vice commander. We just didn't see her in that particular scene when she was there thinking about like, oh, we're going to go rendezvous with Kuma squad. I'm really excited for that. She was eventually kidnapped into sex slavery, one of the darkest things that had ever really happened to a One Piece character in the story. Oda doesn't come out right away and say, like, she was a sex slave, but the implication is right there. So she gets taken. It was thought that maybe it was J. Garcia Saturn was the person that purchased her, that, like wanted her specifically. I don't think that's the idea. I think it was that he, like, Saturn kind of mentioned that, like, a fellow Tenryubito was the one that captured Ginny. Like, one, like, took a liking to her specifically and then brought her to Marie-Joie, and I guess after he was done with her, and I know it's disgusting to think about it in this context, but, like, Saturn performed his surgeries on Ginny, which led to the sapphire scale infection, the viral infection, which also led to it being passed on to her daughter, Bonnie, who is also, Bonnie is the child of the Tenryubito that kidnapped her. So that's Bonnie's biological father, is probably one of the Tenryubito. It was definitely one of the Tenryubito, maybe one of the God's Knights. But I don't think is Saturn's daughter. That was something that was a theory for a while, but I just don't think that's the case now at this point. Okay? So, a lot of messed up things there with Ginny. Kuma obviously wanted to help her. Dragon, this is where this meme has started as of late. Where, like, Dragon didn't do anything. He sat there with his arms crossed, staring off into the east. I feel like the reason why Dragon didn't do anything, and you can maybe not agree with this, and that's perfectly fine, but I don't think that's the first time he's seen a comrade die or get captured. They're doing a dangerous game here. You know, they're leading a revolution. So a lot of his comrades before had probably been killed in the field, had probably been captured before. And Dragon is probably not numb to that, but he's more focused on the ultimate cause, which is we need to build up our army strong enough. We need to liberate island after island. And then and only then, when the time is right, we strike against the main force. Because Dragon understands that if we just charge Marie-Joie and if we're not ready, we could die. Now, people bring up Fisher Tiger. Like, well, Fisher Tiger, he barged in there by himself and liberated a bunch of slaves and got out. Yeah, by himself. Mobilizing an entire army, that might not work. And also, okay, well, what about a strike team? What about Kuma and Dragon and Ivankov? 3 people sneak into Marie-Joie and get Ginny out. You know what? I think that plan had a very high success rate, but not 100%. It's not a guarantee. And Dragon's perspective on that might have been, all right, we form a small strike team, we go in, we might rescue Ginny, or we all die. Because Dragon probably knew that if I die, revolution's done. It's not happening. All those people we liberated, those islands, are probably going to get taken up by the government again, and it's going to go back to the way it was. And Dragon's like, I cannot risk that happening. Now, in the case with Kuma, I feel like Dragon held Kuma back. Like, don't go rescue Ginny. I know you want to, but don't do it. And that's the thing that bugs me more than anything. Like, I can understand the logic behind Dragon not wanting to personally go, because he now understands that everybody looks at him as the leader. If he dies, it's done. Yeah, you got Ivankov and everything, but like Dragon is the ultimate leader that's like like stoking the flames of revolution here. Okay, for Kuma not to go though and rescue Ginny, even though he really wanted to, the implication there is like Dragon had to hold him back or something. Like Dragon's like, you can't go rescue Ginny. I need you for the revolution, and maybe he like physically put a wall in between Kuma, like, you go after Ginny, I'm gonna have to stop you. Or, because that's really messed up if you think of that. Or maybe Kuma even was conflicted, and Kuma's like, okay, it's either the lives of all of the civilians of the One Piece world in this revolution, or, and because I could die, and then all those lives, the revolution might not work, or I save the life of Ginny, the woman I love. And that is super conflicting to Kuma, right? Like no shit. But Kuma is also a very altruistic character that cares a lot about everybody. So Kuma, like we saw the way Kuma was after Ginny was captured. I mean, he was on a war path. He was going around and just like basically carelessly going into battlefields, like maybe hoping that he would die at some point, or maybe hoping he would get captured to get brought to Marijwa to rescue Ginny or something. He was not thinking rationally for a while after that. Or maybe you could say he was thinking the most rationally after that. But it was a very conflicted thing from every party here, where it's not... Like, if Dragon and Kuma and Ivankov were aware that, like, they're in a manga, like, wait a minute, we're the good guys in a manga. Let's go rescue Ginny. We could definitely do that. It's like, that's not their perspective on this. Their perspective on this is, we go and charge, and also, they kidnapped, one of their commanders. So the Tenryubito were probably expecting a counterattack. They were probably expecting, we captured one of the East Blue commanders, one of the commanders of the revolution. They're probably going to come after us, and then that's when we lay the trap down and we kill all of the revolutionary commanders at once. Kuma might have had a moment where Dragon explained this to him, and Kuma was just like, damn it, you're right, Dragon, but I need to save her. It's like, I know, Kuma, I know, but we can't. It's just like, we have to stare into the east. Do what I do whenever you miss your family. Just stare into the east. It's not working, Dragon! Just give it time. Just give it time, Kuma. Eventually, we do see Belo Betty in the flashback in her younger years, to kind of bring it all around full circle here. And Belo Betty actually does request specifically from Kuma, like, there's been a vacancy in the East Blue commander ever since Ginny was captured. Dragon wouldn't let anybody like take it up, and everybody also feels like the Revolutionary Army is like a big family, which made her capture even more sad. So it was like she didn't want to take the position because Ginny had it for so long, and so she asks Kuma directly, like, is it okay if I become the Eastern Commander? And Kuma's like, yeah, sure. You don't have to worry about asking me. Like, I'm fine with it. You're good. You can be the Eastern Commander. And Belo Betty's like, oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to check with you first. And that's the only thing we really see her there in that flashback. She's kind of like sitting on Kuma's shoulder and talking to him. It also is important to mention, though, that Belo Betty was not part of the group with Sabo, Morley, and Karasu and Lindbergh. All the other commanders, except for Ivankov. Ivankov and Belo Betty were the only ones that stayed at Kamabaka. And I feel like there's two reasons for that. Number one, because she's the Eastern Army commander, maybe Dragon was like, I can't lose another... just stay here, you know what I mean? And so Belo Betty's like, okay. And then the other example is, like, we need Betty's power, because if Morley, Karasu, Lindbergh, if they get captured... And once again, this is thinking about things in a, like they're pieces on a chessboard, but also it's very pragmatic, but they're also a big family, so it might be contradictory here. But like Dragon is like that kind of guy where Dragon's like, okay, in order for our revolution to work, we have to make sure we have our most valuable pieces. Betty's power to motivate the people is indispensable, so she stays behind. Not to say that Karasu and Morley and Lindbergh and Sabo are just, you can toss them in the garbage like nobody cares. It's just that Betty's power is, like I said, irreplaceable, indispensable. You need her power for a revolution to be very effective. So she stayed behind, which makes practical sense when you're the general of a revolutionary army, all right? But yeah, the Dragon's had to make a lot of tough decisions in his life. I'm sure he has. I'm sure he's made a lot of decisions that have resulted in the people he cared about dying. Maybe his own wife because we don't know what's up with Luffy's mom, but Dragon might have made a decision to, like, my wife's life or the life of every single oppressed citizen in this entire world, and he chose the people. And now he's, like, laser focused. He's on the path. He's like, nothing will distract me from this. I'm going to liberate the people. I'm going to end slavery. I'm going to end the Tenryubito. I don't care how many people close to me have to die for that to happen. I'm going to free the world. And Dragon's just on that path, okay? And nothing's going to stop him. And he needs Betty for that. He needs the commanders for that. But Dragon might have honestly come up with a scenario where I know I said this isn't a Dragon video, and here we are, but whatever. It's a fascinating character. Gets down to the fact where Dragon's the only one left, but he won. Like, let's say it's like everybody else in the Revolutionary Army died. Everybody. All the commanders are dead. Sabo's dead. Koala's dead. Hack is dead. Ivankov's dead. Inazuma's dead. Everyone's dead. But Dragon made it through. He's like missing an arm, and he punches Garling down, and they defeated the Tenryubito, and the slavery is abolished, and Dragon collapses on the ground bleeding out, and he's like, I did it! And then he'll die happy knowing that their revolution meant something, okay? That was intense. That was an intense video. I had to keep the energy level up the entire time. Not super hard for me, but yeah. All right. Well, anyway, now we're going to spin a wheel. Everybody loves a good wheel. So let's spin the wheel to see what we're talking about next, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so here's the wheel. Some of these are more lighthearted videos. Some of them are more serious. Some of them are live streams. Some of them are tier lists or tournaments or stuff like that. Thanks to everybody that sent me their recommendations. I put some of my ideas on here too. All right, here we go. Spinning D wheel. D wheel. It is called that now. What is this? Straw Hat First Impressions. Oh, okay. This is one that people asked me to, like, when the Straw Hats first appeared, what were your first impressions of them? What was your first impression of Sanji without knowing anything about Sanji? What was your first impression of Brook without knowing anything about Brook, okay? I think that would be a fun idea to discuss things, you know, like how you felt about these characters before we even knew they were going to be Straw Hats. Because, like, you don't know upon seeing Frankie that, like, oh, he's obviously going to be a Straw Hat by the end of the arc. Or you see Brook and he's like, well, he's a skeleton on a boat. Clearly, I don't even think we knew he was a musician yet. He's a skeleton on a boat. Clearly, he's going to be a member of the Straw Hats, right? Well, okay. In that regard, maybe. Okay, maybe. But, yeah, Straw Hat First Impressions. I think that's going to be a fun video. So we'll talk about that next time. And let me know about your first impressions of the Straw Hats and what you thought of this video and all that. Thanks for everybody's contributions to the wheel. This will be Tekking and Barry signing out. You can do it. We believe in you!